So very good morning to one and all. So we have today's sessions started with the conditional statements in Perl scripting. So in the previous session, we discussed about how to create a variables related to scalar variables as well as arrays, and after that we discussed with the hash concept. So now in this session we started with another concept which is very much familiar while writing your script, while using your scripting languages in Perl interpreter. So it's a very well-known concept also. So you people are very much familiar using this code itself is called it as a conditional statements here. So you know very well how the conditional statement is useful to represent the program, and you need to check whether the which condition is satisfied. Following code is to be executed with the help of conditional statements itself only. Like you already learn about some things like if else, if and else if ladder, as well as switch statements. Those things also be available in Perl scripting languages while writing your program. So along with that, we have additional thing is also there. Unless, else if, and unless else. So those things is to be discussed in this particular concept while we are discussing in today's class. So I think the previous sessions we completed the complete concept about how the variable is declared and what are the different variables are available in Perl scripting while writing your program, writing your script. You can call it a script. So that variables is to be distinguished between three different types. One is scalar, arrays, and hashes. Those symbols is to be clearly discussed along with some examples. So now in this session we start with another beautiful one, which is already well known. You people are very much familiar with this concept. So comes under the conditional statements here. You need to check whether which condition is satisfying the below part of code is to be executed with the help of these conditional statements here. So for that we started discussing with some of the predefined things what we learned in the previous programming languages like if else and if else structure, as well as else if ladder. So here we don't call it as else if ladder. So here we can call it as if else if else. The way of representing the variable is to be in the different syntax. Those things will be discussed in this session. So now let us start with the basic concept which we have. What is the need of having the conditional statements in our scripting language while writing your Perl programs? So very simple thing is you need to test whether the given condition is satisfying or not. If it is satisfied, you can take whether the true part, or otherwise you will give the false part. So those things you have very much knowledge about how the if and else statement is to be represented in different another programming languages what we have learned up to now. So now the way of representing the same concept is in some different format here. So now let us check with how the typical conditional statements is to be defined while you write your Perl scripting in your program. So for that, so initially we have so many things are there. So here the types of representing your condition is only of the two types. One is true part, and the second one will be the false part. So if the condition is satisfied, the below code is to be executed. While if the condition is not satisfied, then below code is to be executed. Those things will to be discussed with the help of some following examples here. సో చాలా తక్కువ మంది వచ్చారు. సో మిగతా వాళ్ళకి కూడా ఇంటిమేషన్ ఇవ్వండి ఫాస్ట్గా జాయిన్ అవ్వమని చెప్పండి. ఆల్రెడీ ఇట్స్ అబౌట్ 8 minutes ఓవర్. So finally we have the concept called as a condition. We are specifying some conditions. With that conditions, if it is obtains the true value, it will execute some part of code. Otherwise it will execute the another part of the code. Those things will be handled with the help of different conditional statements what we have in Perl programming. So now this is the sample structure of representing your conditional state, any conditional statement here. So here if the condition is satisfied, the below code is to be executed. Otherwise the following else part, which is nothing but the false code, is to be executed here. So now, so is it clear, everyone? Everything is clear. So just proceed. So now check. We will start with one after another how the if statement is created in parallel programming scripting, as well as how the if else is to be represented. So those things will be discussing here. We have some set of statements that are available while you are writing your parallel programming script here. So the thing here is, so try to remember this point. So if the number 0 and the string and the empty list or the empty string, an undefined variable comes under the Boolean false. So it automatically treats it as a false. In all other except the value that are given will be considered as a true value. So this is the normal conditions that what we have in the conditional statements while writing your parallel scripting languages. So what are the different statements that are available in your parallel program is to be discussing one after another. So here these are the statement that we have. The first statement is itself will be the if statement here. And you know very well about the if the condition is satisfied, the below code is to be executed. So if you want to represent your script with the two conditions, whether if the condition is to some part of code is executed, otherwise the additional part is to be executed in the else part, then the representation is in the form of if of else. So here you know the syntax if of expression, that expression will checks whether the given condition is satisfying or not. If it is satisfied, the below code is to be executed. So you know very well about that. So here another thing, whereas in the another programming languages we are representing with if, else, if, and else. Here we are in parallel particularly the else if is to be represented with the help of this keyword else if. So a simple difference between the different programming languages comparing with the parallel if, else in other programming languages. Whereas in this case we can write it as else if, so which is very similar to else if also, very similar to else if. So after that we have the additional statements that we have. One is unless statement here, so quite opposite to the if condition. So here we are checking from the above three statements, we are checking whether the condition is true, then only the following code is to be executed. If you are using the unless statement, this is the newer one that is to be implemented in Perl as well as in the Ruby programming, Ruby scripting languages here. So this unless is nothing but it will, whenever the condition is false, then only the statement is executed. So quite wise reverse to the if else, if else. The same way here also we are going to check the condition is false. There in that case we are checking whether the condition is true. In the remaining these three cases, unless else, if else works similar to the similar opposite to the if else and if else if else. As the same way here also, here the condition is checking whether it contains the false statement. When the condition contains the false statements only, that the following code is to be executed. In the remaining all cases, the true condition is executed. So those things is those things is to be discussed in unless and unless else statement and unless else if and else. Okay, now so another conditional statements is also there. You know very familiar with this switch statement here. This switch statement you use it to select the multiple options what we have in your scripting languages. It allows a simple way of comparing the single value with the multiple options. So you need to write so many number of conditions. If the switch value is satisfying with that condition, so that any one of that condition is to be executed. So these are the 7 basic statements that are available while you are writing your parallel programming script. So if you want any conditions in between your parallel script, then you need to use either if statement or if else if or else if ladder. As the same way, the quite opposite, the true condition will be the false. Whenever the condition is getting false only, then only the output is to be executed. Then that is to be comes under the unless else and unless else if. You know very well about the switch version. The same switch version is the same switch concept is applicable here itself in parallel scripting also. So you need to specify the more number of options. Within that options, if the value is satisfied, any one of the options is to be executed. Those statement is to be written with the help of this switch statement. So fine. So the remaining 6 statements is obtained very easily while you are executing your program in the parallel concept. If you want to execute the switch statement, you need to download the initial latest version of your switch statement with some following code. So now I will show you the thing how the switch statement is executed, how the switch statement is executed in your program. That is to be shown with the help of this command. So try to remember this command. So this is the command that what we have in your we are already installing the PERL interpreter. After installing the PERL interpreter, the following packages, that we have so many number of packages that are available in CPAN, which is nothing but comprehensive PERL HRU network. These network will provide so many number of modules every time. So in order to execute the code of the switch, you need to install this switch package and switch module before executing the program. For that, you simply do only the two things, and two commands are needed to execute this code. So it's very simply the two commands are needed. The first thing is, just after opening the prompt here, just I am opening the prompt here. After opening the prompt, you just need to type one thing, which is called as here, I am highlighting with the cursor here, CPAN, comprehensive parallel HRU network, contains so many number of modules and packages that are related to the parallel interpreter. So if you want to install those modules and interpreters, try to execute that module with the help of some specific command. After installing the specific command, the following module is to be installed on your computer. Then you try to execute the code. So here, if you are not installing this one, the switch program will not execute. For executing the switch program, just you need to try to execute these two commands. Just type CPAN here. So after entered into the CPAN, that interpreter will allow into the CPAN network, which means it consists of so many number of modules here. Just I try to install the switch module here. So just for the installing that switch module, here the syntax will be the install space of switch here. S will be the capital letter here. So after giving this command, giving this command, after entering the command, so just you need to wait for a few minutes. It will fetching all the records which are related to your switch statement, that is to be installed through your interpreter. So after installing all those things, it will gives a message like one thing which is called as like this. So up to here, just you need to wait for some time, after nearly 3 to 4 minutes, though it will give this one result will be the pass here. So after successfully installing all those things, just you need to exit from this CPAN here. Just type the command called as exist. Whenever you are appearing all test successfully, means that the switch contains a module. Those packages will be installed on your particular interpreter. After installing the particular interpreter, it will check. After checking, it will give some command text, like all text are successfully, means which are successfully install all the switch modules. So after getting this message, you just need to exit exit from the CPAN. After exit, just again go through your particular directory where your programs are exist. Then after try to execute this parallel switch.pl, then the output will be obtained like this. If you are not doing this process, you may get error definitely. Why? Because that switch module cannot install in your interpreter. They will do some message like that. So try to remember this point. So if you want to create any program by using the switch statement, you need to just follow these two instructions, and after try to execute your code. So this is all about your the next case which comes under. So now we will start with the initial one by one after one. So how the if statement is represented in parallel programming concept, and what are the syntax that we have. So how to write the if statement by using the parallel programming and try to execute that. So this is so basically you know about the switch, very well know about the switch one. So it will give the true value when the block if the condition is satisfied, the block of code is to be executed. So you don't have any else part here. So why? Because you just simply mention your statement with the if condition. So if conditions means the following condition is to be satisfied. So it will return something like true, or it will return something like false whenever the condition is satisfied. Only the below part of code is to be executed. You know very well about that. So just to go through these text. So it will treat it as some default values will consider as false, just like I said, zero, number zero, string, and the empty string, and empty list, these and undefined variable, these all are comes under the boolean false false part. So in parallel, particularly these, whenever the variable appear these type of things, then it will consider as a false. The remaining all comes under the true part. So as the same way, now just try to check this flow chart here, so you know very well about this one. So just after getting the conditions, if it is the true, the below code is to be executed, otherwise the false part is to be executed. So now we have some example which related to how to write if statement in our program. This is the example that we have. Just try to check this code with the help of so just try to write the code which comes under the if part here. So this is the code that I am written. So the first line of the code will be the shebang here, so which is a very mandatory line that are to be included while writing your programs. So I'm declaring the scalar variable here, $of a, which is equal to 10. You know, so why I am saying scalar variable here? So which means whenever the variable precedes obtain the symbol called as dollar, then that variable comes under the scalar. Scalar variable lo ఏమేమి ఉంటాయంటే it occupies numbers ఉండొచ్చు, floating point ఉండొచ్చు, strings ఉండొచ్చు. So here I am assigning one variable which is one value which is 10 to the particular variable a. So now just I want to check whether this variable is less than 20 or greater than 20. So if it is less than 20, then I just want to print some statement like a is less than 20, or otherwise just the value of a is printed. So for that reason, I use if condition is needed. So if very simple syntax, the keyword will be the if, brackets open, write the expression here, write the condition here. If this condition is satisfied, the block of code, the below block of code is to be executed. So if it is true, then this line is to be executed, a is less than 20. Otherwise, if it get false, this part of code is executed. This is the one sample code here. As the same way, just I am assigning another variable which is equal to empty string. Just now specifying if the value contains 0 or 0 string or empty string or empty list, then that comes under the false category. So if it is true, then this part is executed, otherwise this part is to be executed. Now let us try to execute this code. Select this one interpreter, parallel interpreter. So just choose the parallel interpreter here. This is the path what I have in my system. So for executing this code, parallel space if.pl, the file name itself will be the if.pl here. So after typing this one, just you will get the answer 20. So a is less than 20, the value of a is 10, the value of a is nothing. So what? So let us check with the code here. So let us check with the code here. So here the output is so try to. So here the first one. This is printing, right? So this condition is satisfied. The block of code is to be executed. So try to remember, after closing this braces, the below code is also to be executed. That's why the value of a is 20 will printed. So in this case, it will not get any value. Why? Because it is treated as a false value. That's why if it is not, if statement is not executed, this one is executed. For that, the output will be looking look like this. See here, so the value of a is nothing will be printed. Why? Because the if part is not executed. If it is true, then the below code is to be executed. So now comes to the next statement, which is called as so the next statement, which is called as if and else. So it's very popular thing about. So if need to write two conditions, whether the following code is to be executed, or in the else part, what to be executed is to be represented with the help of this if and else part here. So if and else, the syntax will be very similar to the previous programming languages. Like if of expression, if that expression is true, the block of code is to be executed. Otherwise, The syntax for writing the else part will be the same as the previous programming languages, else the below code is to be executed. So very, very similar to the previous programming. This is a flow chart that what we have in your parallel programming concept. If the condition is true, the if part is executed. Otherwise, the else part is to be executed. Just if it is used for the two purposes, whether it is true or not. If it is true, the true part is executed. If it is not, the else part is to be executed. Now try to check with some other example here. So which is called as the if else example here. So here I just copy some example which related to the if else part here. So let us try to try to understand the code, how the if else part is to be executed. Here I am declaring and initializing a variable, assigning and initializing a variable with 100. I check the condition if 100 is less than 20. If the condition is true, it will print a is less than 20. Otherwise, the else part is to be executed. So this code is also executed. Why? Because the block of code after the conditional statements will also be executed. When you study the programming languages, they clearly mention if and else is over. After these two block of code, whatever the content that you have written, that code is also to be executed. So here, any one of this for this, if the variable 100 is less than 20, this one is printed. Otherwise, this one is printed along with the value of a is printed. As the same way, here also I am initializing the same empty string here. If it will treat it as a false, just now we discussed it will treat it as a false statement. So the else part is executed and along with some value is executed. Now let us try to execute this code here. So for executing, the file name itself will be the perl space if else dot pl here. So here check 20. A is greater than 20. So which one is executed? So else part is executed. Why? Because 100 is not less than 20. So for that, the else part is executed. Along with the value of A is 20 is printed. So check here. Value of A is 20 is printed. Value of A is 100 is printed. So not 20, 100. So in the next statement, just I am specifying with the empty string. So it is a false statement. So A has a false value. It will print this one. A has a false value along with A value. So A has a false value along with A is nothing. We are not passing any string. So empty string will be written false value. So that's why it will be written empty. So this is how the next part, which is called as if else. Another one is if else if representation. You can call it as in another programming languages like else if ladder. You can call it as. Here we are not mentioning any else if ladder. Just we are specifying one thing, which is called as simply you can call it as one thing. If, else if, and else. Here the syntax is a little bit different comparing to the previous programming languages. There you are specifying else will be completely ELSC space if. Here we are specifying else if like this. This is the way of representing your if, else if, and else. A very simple thing. If the condition is true, the block of code is executed. If it is not, checks for this condition. If it is also fails, go through this one. If it is also fails, go to this one. When the true condition appear, that block of code is to be executed. So now try to execute this code also. Try to understand the third if, else if, and else part. Here try to understand the syntax, how I am writing the sample example which related to your if statements. Here I am assigning some value. I am conditional. I am checking whether these two variables are equal or not. If it is not, this condition is failed. So now go through this one. This is also failed. So this is also failed. 100 is not equal to 30. Now the output is getting A has a value which is 100. If none of the conditions is true, then this is the final statement is executed. So now try to execute this code if, else if. So the file name itself will be perl space if, else if. So once again I try to check if else if dot pl. So if else if dot pl here. So here A has a value which is 100. Why? Because the first condition if is also not satisfying, else if part is also not satisfying, and unless and until the last part, which is else part, is to be executed. You know very well. So multiple options are. If you want to check the multiple options, then you go through if, else if, and else. So this is all about your third case in conditional statements, very similar to your previous programming language. Now you are little bit worried about the remaining thing, which is unknown for you up to now. So when you learn this one, which is also available in Ruby concept also, unless. So there in the case of if you are checking for the true condition, here in this part you are checking for false condition. That is the only difference here. So check here, unless of Boolean expression. So you need to initialize, you need to specify the conditions or specify the expression here. After specifying, if it is false only, this condition, this expression is going to be false, then only the block of code is to be executed. That is the main difference between the if and unless. The remaining all things are same, vice versa to the if, else, if and else here. So now the code that what we have in your program, let us try to execute with the help of this one, unless here. So just as I just go through three statements here: unless, else, unless if. So here very simple thing is just if the condition is failed, then only this statement is executed. Otherwise, check with the next statement here, which is very similar to like if statement. So if condition is true, then the following statement is executed. If condition is false here, then only this statement will execute. 20 less than 20, which is false, false or true. Here the value I am initializing will be the 20. 20 is less than 20. Check whether the condition is true or not. If it is true, A is not less than 20 and print out. Otherwise, it will just simply print the value of A. As the same way, I'm not sending any string here. If I pass like this, it will return which one? False statement here. So if it is false, then this one is A has a false value. This statement is printed along with this line. So now try to execute this code. So unless of unless dot pl here, unless dot pl. So A is not less than 20 means which code is executed. So here the condition is failed. So if you are using the unless, then it considered as a true, then this part is to be executed. And fail aitene ee lopala execute, fail ayindi kadani andukani ee part execute along with a value kuda printed. As the same way, which is a false, ఇక్కడ false వస్తేనే ఈ స్టేట్మెంట్ ఎగ్జిక్యూట్ అవుతుంది, then this output is to be, this value is to be printed along with this value. So this is all about your unless. As the same way, the next one will be the unless else PL. So very simple. So there so this part is false అవ్వాలని, అంటే ఇది ఫాల్స్ అయితే ఈ పార్ట్ ఎగ్జిక్యూట్ అవుతుంది, లేదంటే ట్రూ అయింది అనుకోండి ఇఫ్ ఎల్స్ లాగా సేమ్. ఇఫ్ ఎల్స్ అంటే మనకి ఇక్కడ ట్రూ కండిషన్ చెక్ చేస్తాం, ఇక్కడ ఫాల్స్ చెక్ చేస్తాం, vice versa. Here I am checking for false, after that true. If it is equal, ఇదేమైంది ట్రూ అవ్వాలి, ఫాల్స్ అయింది కాబట్టి so this part is executed, otherwise this part is executed. As the same way, here I am using for the numerical value as I am using for the string value. ఇలా ఏమి ఇవ్వకుండా ఇస్తే it will treat it as జీరో కానీ సింగిల్ స్ట్రింగ్ కానీ ఎంటీ స్ట్రింగ్ కానీ డబుల్ కోట్స్ లో ఎంటీ స్ట్రింగ్ కానీ లిస్ట్ లో ఎంటీ లిస్ట్ కానీ మీరు ఇచ్చినప్పుడు the value that is considered to be the false value. So here the false value వచ్చిందంటే ఈ లోపల కండిషన్ ఎగ్జిక్యూట్ అవుతుంది. So here now try to check this code. The name of that program will be unless else, parallel space unless else dot pl. See here, given condition is false means which one is executing? This one is executed. Why? Because this is false condition. Unless will execute only if the condition is false. Very good. Then the value is automatically printed. So this case false, A has a false value and that value is printed. So that is the output here. Given condition is false, A value. So these two statements I just want to print after the condition. So here ఈ రెండు కూడా ఫెయిల్ అయినా కూడా ఎందుకు మనకు డిస్ప్లే అయిందంటే that is comes under the unless part. So next example which related to next one, which is very similar to if, else, if and else. Here I am checking with unless, else, if and else. It's the same thing here. Just if it contains the false value, then it is executed. Otherwise, it will check for this one. It contains true, it skips. It contains false, this statement is executed. Otherwise, this one is executed. If A is equal to 20 means I am assigning and declaring the variable with the 20. 20 is not equal to 30. False value is obtained. Then the output is what? Here, A is a value which is not 20. This value is 20, which is equal to 30. So here, false statement is executed. So what will happen? Let us check with this code. Else if PERL unless else if dot PL. So here I try to check the program name unless hyphen else if dot PL. Else if dot PL means I'm just importing this here. The final itself will be like this. So A has a value which is not 20. So this line of code is executed. Check. A has a value which of not 20. Why means this one is executed. Why? Because here 20 I am here declaring, I initializing. I am checking with that 20 which is equal to 30, which is a false statement. It will return the false value unless we'll treat it as whenever you are getting the false value, this block of code is to be executed and the remaining part will be skipped. So that's why the output is obtained like this. So this is all about your unless, else if and else. Try to remember only one thing, which is very much similar to the if else and if else if ladder only, quite opposite. There in that we are for executing the code if the condition is satisfying. In the case of unless, if the code is not satisfying the code, then the below code is to be executed. The only the difference between unless and if statement. Now the last seventh one will be the which one? Switch statement. You know very well how to write the switch statement. So a little bit syntax differentiation is there. You just need to include this line use of switch before writing the switch statement. You just need to write use strict use warnings. After that you need to include this switch command. This command will this module will specify the following code is to be in which module, switch module. So here switch keyword along with some arguments. You need not to mention any colon here. Just simply you may write either numerical value or the string or the range or the array or whatever the content you need, the patterns and functions, and you may you may write anything about the particular parallel programming. So at the last you are writing the else part. If this argument satisfies any one of the following cases is to be executed, otherwise it will execute the else part. Simply that is the thing here. Just try to understand with the example now how to write the switch statement in your write the switch statement in your program. So here just I am specifying one thing, need to include this line of code before writing your program. So just try to write this one. So I am already installing the packages. I will show how to install the switch package in your interpreter. Those things will be remember. Try to remember one word cpan. After entering to the cpan network, just try to install space switch. After installing all those things, just try to execute this code. So now I am assigning the variable 10 and assigning the array of 10, 20, 30, and I am assigning what one hash. Key one will 10 and key value will be 20. I am three different variables I am using here. So try to understand this one: scalar variable, array variable, hash variable. So the way of representing the variables will be looking like this. Just I want to write the switch statement of $of where I am passing here. Which one? This one. So if it contains the value case 10, value 10, then print number 100. It will print number. Or otherwise, if I pass A, so initially the first case is satisfying, this part is executed, the remaining part is to be skipped. So no need to mention any semicolons here while writing your cases here. No need to write any colon also. So try to mention something which is an array, which consists of an array element. If I am passing this one array, then this one is printed. If I am passing a hash, this one is printed. This backspace specifying escape sequence character, and it will return all complete array here. If your passing variable is array, then this one is executed. But here I am passing variable will be the scalar variable. That's why this one is printed. So if it is not, then the following code else part is to be executed. So you know very well about it. This is a simple syntax while writing your switch statement in your parallel programming. The name will be the parallel switch here. Try to execute this code with the help of parallel space parallel switch dot PL here. So after writing, so the number 100 is printed. Why? Because this condition is satisfying. This case not condition. This case is while I am satisfying this case, this part of code is to be executed. The remaining code is to be skipped. So the same thing will happen. So try to check with another code, another example also. Here the same code. So the same thing. So no need to use here. I just try to add one more statement here. Next, those things will be discussed in the loop concept next and until. So those things will be discussed in the next coming classes in the next class. So don't bother about this one. So just try to execute the code. What will happen is the same thing. I'm assigning 3 different variables, and in the switch expression, I send only one variable. If it satisfies, this one is printed, print of 100. And another statement is added included here. Next statement, what will happen? Let us try to check with some executing this code. So try to execute. See here, number 100 along with the number in list. Why? Because so try to next. It will pass the next. This 10 will also appear in this case. Here 1:10 means what? Range operator. This range operator specifies contains how many elements? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and along with 42. So any one of the element is also be printed this value. That's why the output is obtained number in list. Why? Because actually at this, if you are not including this line, at this case only it will skip out of the switch statement and end of the loop. But I am including the next statements, means after these next statements, until and unless and until this number is appear, the following code is to be executed. In this case, it will not appear anything about the numerical value, but in this case, it will appear the numerical value, and for that reason, it will ended up to here. So I just try to jump the loop from jump the case from one case to another case. Just try to execute the following below code unless and until I get this value. So just I pass on the loop up to this case. So that's where the answer will be obtained a number in list. So now this is all about your switch statements. So this is all about the theoretical part what we have that is useful while you write your exam. So those things we'll be discussing here. And the last concept in if-else statements will be the conditional operators, where you can call it as ternary operator in C language. So you know very well about this one. It's a little bit syntax which is very familiar. Expression 1 question mark, expression 2 colon, expression 3 means. So if the condition is satisfied, this part is executed, expression 2 is executed. Otherwise, if the condition is failed, this part is to be executed. So the same concept here also we are obtaining here. So let us try to understand this conditional operator with some following specific code, the same syntax what you are written, but here I just need to mention your expression within the brackets here. After that question mark symbol. So if it is, if you want to print the truth value within a string, then you can use double quotes. Otherwise, you can write the numerical value. So whatever the thing you need, you just need to follow like the thing here itself only. So now see here, just I am adding she bank line. So you know about this, the interpreters. The following code is to be in the form of the PERL. These things will be specifying by the interpreter. So I understand by the interpreter. Just I am initializing the scalar variable with the name is equal to Ali, the string, and one numerical value that the variable will be the age. So here I am assigning the two different variables here. One is name and the another one is age. So now let us try to write the code with the help of conditional operator. The syntax what we are discussing right now is the question mark, expression 2 colon, expression 2. Here the expression 1 contains the condition. What are the condition you needed? You need to check whether that condition is satisfied. If it is satisfied, the expression 2 part is executed. Means this one. If it is not satisfied, expression 3 part is to be stored in the particular variable status. So here the age 10 is greater than 60. If the condition is true, it will print a senior citizen. Otherwise, it will print not a senior citizen. So just I want to print dollar of name. Ali is what? Is a senior citizen or not a senior citizen? here you are sending the age here, that the age name itself will be that the value itself will be the 10. So 10 greater than 60, you know whether it is a true or false. Based upon the condition, the expression 2 or expression 3 is executed. Now let us try to execute this code PERL condition, right? So for that, PERL space minus w PERL condition dot PLC. Only is not a senior citizen means it will execute which part? Expression 3 means this condition obtains the value fail. Why? Because it returns the fail value. If it is fail, which part is executed? Expression 3 part is executed. That failed. Now, what are the output you are written here? The only is dollar of name means only is the value is what? Not a senior citizen. So here what is printed? Dollar of name only is not a senior citizen. First thing will be displaying. So see here, check here. Ali is not a senior citizen. So this is how to write your conditional operator in your PERL programming concept. So this is all about your conditional statements in your PERL program. Or PERL scripting, we call it as PERL scripting. So if you want to write any conditions, any conditional statements, any just want to check with the false conditions, so you may write unless, or you may follow the basic concept if else and else if part. So along with that switch statements, you know very well about the switch statement. You have one more additional conditional operator is also there, whether the single, instead of using if else, I am using this one. So very simply you can say that instead of using if else, I am using conditional operator. Why? Because at the single instant only you can obtain either true condition or false condition. So this is how to create your conditional operator in your conditional state operator in your conditional statements. You can call it a ternary operator in C language. So we will not mention the ternary operator here. Just need to specify one thing: conditional operator. Just try to remember this one, or otherwise this symbol they are giving this symbol question mark colon, which is also called as conditional operator. Just to try to revise those things, I will forward this material in Edmodo after completion of all classes. So it's a lengthy unit. Little bit we have so many discussions what we have in the next sessions, right? So up to if else is over now, then we will start with the loop concept, how the loops are useful, like for, while, do, while. So you may for each one more extra new concept is appearing in this programming scripting language. So after that, the concept called as operators like arithmetic, relational, logical. It's very simple and very familiar known concept for you, all of you, for both these parallel loops as well as operators. After having these two, we have a specific thing which is called as date and time. It's a very rich in date and time functions what we have in the parallel programming. And after that, we started with the file, how the files are handled in parallel program, along with the regular expressions and subroutines, which we can call it as a functions also. After regular expressions, we have one more topic is left, retrieving documents from the webs. Those things will be having in your syllabus. After that, at last we have one more thing is also that, which is how to access the database by using the parallel concept. Those things we'll be discussing. With that, we conclude the unit. So it's what we are discussing. They are very important while writing your exams. Don't skip these topics while you study about this 5th unit, which is called the parallel programming. So now, students, I conclude today's session. So up to we are discussing about how to write the conditional statements while writing your parallel programming script, right? So in the next section, the following things like loops and operators. I think loops will take one class, operators will take one class, that time will take one class, file IO will take one class. After that, subroutines will take one class. Nearly 7 classes are needed to complete the parallel programming. So don't bother about that. You can take extra 1 or 2 hours. So don't bother. You can slowly start the sessions and conclude each and every individual part in your syllabus. So thank you for being these sessions. We'll catch you on next session. Thank you.